Happy Wednesday. So how is everybody this evening? It's I'll give everybody a chance to get in here. Sometimes people have a little trouble finding me at first. So I think everybody's getting used to YouTube though. So I wish that I could use, hi everybody. Oh, hi. Oh, there's Teresa. Hi, Teresa. It still says Douglas Coralville. So I know it's Teresa and you're not in Coralville probably. Hi, everybody. And Bernadette and Karen Wassmer. There's a bunch of people here. Hello, everybody. What does the purple crown mean? What purple crown? You mean up in the right-hand corner of the screen? It's actually a duck. I think that's what you're talking about. I use a streaming service called StreamYard. And it has their little logo up there because I'm on the free version and I love it because it does everything I need it to do. So it works great. So yes, thank you, Bernadette. Bernadette says to everybody give me a thumbs up because if you give me a thumbs up, it helps me on my YouTube channel. So I appreciate that very much. Hello, everybody. So people are coming in. So we are going to make some cards tonight. So I did a video over the weekend and then I put it up on YouTube already that talks about cutting out that you chat often. Okay. See, I don't see that side of it, Bernadette. So thank you for explaining that. I thought maybe she was talking about on the screen. So they do have, YouTube has little things that they put up for people. So that's probably what it is. Yep. You're in Colorado and I just can't figure out how to change the name, but I've at least figured out how to comment. Woohoo! That's wonderful, Teresa. I know it's you. Hi, Colleen. Colleen's here. So I've got some of my locals here too. That's great. Some of my local gals that come to classes at the store. So that's wonderful. So we're going to make some cards tonight. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time and I just needed to think about it. I couldn't decide exactly how to do it. My friend Lynn Olin-Salen did a class a couple of years ago in the store with some cards, and they were bigger cards, so they were a little harder to mail and stuff, but this is more of a traditional size. So, and I did a video. So I started to say, I did a video over the weekend of how to cut out the papers. So these pieces of cardstock, and I talked about the cardstock and that type of thing. And then I showed you some options of cutting it out, with your scan and cut or with a paper cutter, or in this case, I used, you thought it meant, that's funny, Carol. but this, I used my dies. I showed the die cutting in the video as well. And I like my dies because I always know they're perfectly the right size. And I really like these dies. And so I purposely will make all of my card designs to work with some of the dies I have, because I just like the dies. You don't have to use them. You can use a rotary cutter and a mat and a ruler to cut them out. You can cut them out any way you want. So we'll talk about that in a minute when we get over here to what you need for each card. So for the part that we're going to do right away, we'll need, our cardstock and then our stiff Peltex stuff. So we'll talk about that here in a minute when I can show you on the instructions. But remember to make a comment. If you make a comment and you get entered to win the prize tonight, and the prize is going to be whatever card we make. Okay. So I'm going to give you a choice. You have choice of a couple of cards because they didn't take quite as long. So I thought, hi, Marcia, here's some more of my local folks. That's wonderful. Okay. So these are the cards. This is thinking of you. Okay. Here's Hello Friend. This is the set. Hello Friend. Happy Birthday. I just kind of did all occasion. So I did a small set. These are what they call A2 cards. And then this is Happy Holidays. Okay. So these are what they call A2 cards. So it's basically the size, the main size of it is like a quarter of a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So they're like they're like 4.25 by 5.5. Okay. So these are a nice small size. Am I selling the sets? Not the sets of cards, Roseanne, but you can get the designs. So the designs are available. Let me put let me switch my banner here. So we'll talk about that since somebody brought it up. So let me turn off this banner and turn this one on. So the design set is the A2 embroidered cards is what they are. And you get these 4 cards in that set. And it's available on my website, sew-along-with-jan.square.site. And you can go there and it will be linked in the video below or in the description below this video. I'm also going to link the video that I made that I already have up. Okay. So I decided to do like 4. If I do more of these, I'll probably do like 4 in each series. And I'm going to make different sizes, but I think I'm going to kind of stick, since I'm a card maker, I think I'm going to stick to, like 4 in a set. And then I'm going to stick to kind of a standard size for card makers that are very common and easy to make, like card bases and that type of thing, and to find envelopes for them and that type of stuff. So what we're going to do, so you have your choice. So put in the comments which one you'd like to do. I gave everybody the choice of making the happy birthday card, or these are the 2 that don't take quite as long. So we thought I'd do one of these tonight, or thinking of you. So you guys put that in the comment, which one you would like. Cindy, you really do need to use 100-pound paper. The 65-pound paper is not going to take the needle punches well. 65-pound paper is not going to handle it being sewn through. It's just going to rip. So you really need to use heavy paper, 100-pound paper. Okay. So we'll kind of do a little survey here. So we have the choice tonight of the happy birthday card or the thinking of you card, because these are the 2 that are just a little bit shorter. You know, they don't take quite as long. What needle do I use? So I use a number 11, 7511 embroidery needle. You might need to, how do some cardstocks not list the poundage? Oh, is that, that's Jackie. Some do. Most of them are going to give you poundage. So like I get most of my paper, and I have this all in the description below. Okay. I actually use mostly 100-pound paper from either Hobby Lobby or Michael's, something that's you know, that I can easily get. I've also got paper from Gina K Designs, and I've got paper from Tailored Expressions, which are both card making places. So that works really well. But 100-pound is what you need to use to sew on, because it's not going to be heavy enough. Now the little shadow layer, that little black layer that I have on here, that is probably 80-pound, which is fine for the layers, but I'm not sewing on that piece. So that's why I would definitely recommend. And where did I get my cardstock, Mary? Did you hear me say I get it mostly at Hobby Lobby and at Michael's. Hobby Lobby has Recollections paper, and most of my colored paper is from there. And then the white paper that I have here that I'm using, the 100-pound, that's from Hobby Lobby, I think. The other is from Michael's. So you can get good paper there, and it's good smooth paper. And there's lots of other places to get paper. So if you would like to buy things from other places, but try to find 100-pound paper for the card bases, and at least for this piece that we're going to be sewing on tonight. And then maybe 80-pound, like that little shadow layer is only 80 pounds. So it's not quite as heavy. And then I also made a video. So there's one video already up, and I will link it below this video. I didn't do it yet, but I'll do it after class. So let me take this down. So again, if you want the designs, go to sew-along-with-jan.square.site. Okay. And I will put this up again later. So that's where you can get, and this is also linked in the video description below this video. Okay. So all of this will be linked in there. So let me take that down so we can see a little bit better. Give me a chance to hide it. Okay. All right. So I think it looks kind of like the birthday card one. It looks like people mostly wanted birthdays. So I think we'll do the birthday card. Is that okay with everybody? And if you buy the set, then you can make all 4. Now, the thing I love about these cards, historically, cards, when you were sewing on cardstock, you were sewing directly on the cardstock. And then on the back of the card, you would see all of these knots and threads and all this stuff. And then you'd have to try to cover it up with something. Well, I really like these because, see, this is the back. You see nothing. And the way these are put together, the stitching is on the back of this thing, and it's appliqued to a piece of paper, and then there's no messy back. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to these. I'm going to talk about the envelopes at the end. Somebody asked about the envelopes, and yes, you can buy A2 envelopes. These will fit easily in an A2 envelope. You can also make your envelopes. I'm going to show you how I made my envelopes. I like the handmade ones because they're a little bit bigger. It's a little easier to put them in. So we'll talk about that at the end. Okay. So I think maybe happy birthday kind of one. So we'll do the happy birthday card. So that'll be a nice one to do. I like the other one too, but we'll do happy birthday. Okay. So the first video that I did, what needle do I use? I use a number 7511 embroidery needle. Same needle I use for everything. I very rarely change out. I do change my needles more often when I'm working with the cardstock, because remember, we are sewing through paper. So I do notice a little difference. So, okay. So yeah, it looks like most people want to do the birthday card. There's some people with thinking of you, and I think that would be a great one, but we'll do the birthday card tonight. How about that? So that will be the prize. So remember to make your comments, and then you'll get entered to win the card at the end. Okay. And let's see. I think I got Mary's question answered. Let's see. Yeah, I really like the thinking of you. That was the last one I did. I had a little trouble. I actually had 2 versions of this one, and I like this one the best. So I actually have another one that I have sewn out, but I like it because, and then this one was the one I did with the scan and cut. Yes, Cindy, you can do that, but it might come off. This way it's not going to come off. So this part is actually not felt. This is actually something else. So we're going to talk about now the stuff you need to do the actual sewing. So the first video was talking about cutting the cardstock and how to make the card bases. You know, this base, and this is just made out of a piece of paper. And I didn't buy card bases. I like to make them because then I can make them any color I want. You can use any color you want back here. Just use 100% pound paper. I used white just because that's what I had the most of. But you can use any color you want. Okay. So let's go ahead and switch over here, and we're going to talk about the actual stuff you need to make the card. Okay. Cynthia asked if I'm sewing on the actual card. Yes and no. Not at the beginning, but towards the end. So yes, we're sewing on the card, but you will not see the card. All of the sewing part will not show. See? So yes, I am sewing on the card at the very end. This applique part, this part right here, is actually on the card stock, but it's not on the card base. Okay. So this is what makes this lots of fun. Okay. So let me get the camera turned over here, and we will talk about what we need to do these. All right. Let me get the camera and the microphone. They changed my icons, so I still struggle a little bit getting everything right. Okay. All right. So you should see my sewing machine now, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the stuff, and then we'll get started here. Okay. So in the video that I did, and it's already up on YouTube, we talked about how to cut the paper and the card bases to prepare. Okay. Tonight, we're going to talk about the stuff we need for the sewing. Okay. So, one of the things you need, sorry, let me turn this down. My people walk past my garage and that's my camera outside. So one of the things you need is stabilizer, and you need an adhesive tearaway. And what I mean by that is it's a piece of tearaway that has the tacky surface. Okay. And what I did is I hooped this in the hoop, and I just scored. You can kind of see where I scored with my scissors, and I pulled the protectant paper off, and it's just sticky. Okay. So you'll need 2 pieces of that. Okay. No one's mowing next door. Don't say anything, Lucy. Hopefully he won't mow tonight. I heard voices over there earlier because I'm literally sitting on top of their backyard almost. So that is what's in here. This is an adhesive tearaway. Okay. And I have 2 hoops ready to go here because we're going to use 2 hoopings. Okay. Then you need Pellon Peltex. And Pellon Peltex is that stiff stuff that you can use like for stiffeners and like bags and all this stuff. And that's what this is. This is the sew-in type. Okay. And this is, there's also one, so that's the number 70. So I gave you the numbers. Pellon Peltex number 70 is the sew-in. Okay. My sticky tearaway I have is either, I think it's actually the Kimberbell, but like Perfect Stick is Floriani. Anything like that would work just fine. But the Peltex number 70 is the sew-in type of Peltex, and that's what this is. If you can't find the number 71F, that is single-sided fusible. I did have a little trouble finding that, and that's what this is. So this is can you kind of see the little nubbies on this side? That's where it irons on. And what I did is ironed a piece of fabric onto it. And the fabric makes it much prettier than leaving it plain like this. Because I find this rather, this isn't as pretty. And I wanted to put some fabric on it. So I got this fusible. If you can't find the fusible, if you can only find the sew-in, what I did then is I just took a piece of Heat and Bond Light. I've got the package here. Cut that the same size and ironed it onto the Peltex, and then pulled that paper off and ironed on my fabric. Okay. So if you can't find the single-sided fusible, now I found the single-sided fusible, the number 71. I found it at Walmart in Anamosa when I went up there. So I did find this, and you should be able to find it online by the yard. So I did find it. Maybe Michael's, I doubt Michael's. I have it. Maybe Hobby Lobby would have it, but I found it at Walmart actually. So I have that to use, and that's what I did tonight for mine. We're going to get some cotton fabric, and I used this white. You can use any color you wanted. I just thought the white looked pretty, and this has the little silver polka dots in it, or the little silver speckles in it. Okay, and I just really. I thought that was pretty, and so I cut those and ironed it on. Where'd my little piece go here? Here it is. So here's my piece that I did. So here's my Peltex number 71. That's the single-sided fusible. And what I did is I cut it out the size I needed it, which is 3 3/4 by 5. And then I cut my piece of fabric 3 3/4 by 5 and ironed it on the top. So there's my pretty little silver speckles. Okay. The glitter. And this is the piece of Peltex. Like that. So, but if you don't have the single-sided, just use the Heat and Bond. So I put that in the instructions that if you can use either one, and both of them work just fine. Okay. Now, one of the questions earlier was about the cardstock. So you do want to use 100-pound cardstock, especially for the card base, the actual base of the card, this colored piece. Okay. That needs to be heavy because you don't want it to be too light because it'll bend. Okay. And also the piece, we're going to be sewing on this white piece. And I cut this out with my die cut machine. Can you see the little stitches? And if you watched the video earlier this weekend, you'll know what I mean by that. Okay. second, I need to move my mouse. Okay. And so this is that 100-pound paper. Now I do have my shadow layers. This is the layer I'm going to put on behind here. And it's just a little bit bigger, see? That one is 80 pounds, so that's okay if that's a little lighter weight, but the other two really need to be 100-pound paper, okay? Because then it's heavier and it's going to hold up for the needle punches because we're going to be sewing through this piece of paper, okay? All right. So all of these, this piece here is 3 3/4 by 5. This is 3 3/4 by 5. The fabric is 3 3/4 by 5, okay? So that's the pieces you have to cut. A couple out of cardstock, one out of the Peltex, the fabric, okay? And the Heat and Bond Light, if that's what you're using, okay? And I think I might have forgotten the fabric. Oh my gosh, did I not write the fabric on here? If I didn't, I'll fix the instructions and you can re-download them. I'm sorry. I think I forgot to put the fabric on there. Pelmon, 100% pound. Yeah, I forgot to put your fabric. It's also cut the same size as the Peltex. So 3 1/2 or 3 3/4 by 5. So I do apologize. I forgot to put that on. I'll add that to my upload. I'll re-upload it after the class. Sometimes I make a mistake and I don't notice it until I'm doing the class. So, okay. So that's what you need. We got our Peltex with the fabric on it and our 2 pieces of cardstock here. And then I've got my card bases, but I'll show you those at the end. All right, so we'll lay these out of the way. And then the first thing we're going to do, so we're going to do the happy birthday card. So let's go find the birthday card here. It's one of the last ones. All right. So it says to adhere the fabric to the Peltex, either using the fusible surface or the Heat and Bond Light, which I did. That's what I did here. Okay. Then it says to hoop adhesive tearaway stabilizer in the hoop. Remove the cover to expose the tacky surface. This is what I did with my 5x7. So these fit in a 5x7 hoop easily. Okay. So we're going to put this in, and I am using embroidery thread on the top, and I'm using just regular, one of my pre-wound bobbins in the bobbin. Just white for the bobbin. Okay. So is everybody with me so far? This makes sense to you? So this stuff, I really like that I could find some of the iron on because it's just faster. You don't have to cut so many things. So, okay. So then it says that this first stitch out, the number 1, let's get our sign up here. So I sent these over via the internet. So they're over here in my little Wi-Fi here. So let's do the birthday card. So there's two halves for each card. Okay. So I'm going to choose the first part of happy birthday right here. The second part of it is right after it. It's right here. So it's going to be an oval. Okay. So we're going to pick that and we're going to set that one and we're going to start with that one. All right. So the first step is going to give us a placement line to put our Peltex down. The Peltex with the fabric on it. Okay. So that's the first step. A second, let me move my other hoop out of the way here. Now, sometimes the machine doesn't like to, okay, so see how it didn't pick up the bobbin thread? So that's normal when you're sewing on just paper, just stabilizer, and that happens. So what I'm going to do, let me show you my trick. I'm going to take my bobbin out. I am going to put it back in, and then I'm not going to cut it off. I'm going to leave the tail down here. There's a tail, okay? Because sometimes when it only has paper to sew on, it just doesn't quite like to grab that bobbin. So let's back up. We have to back up here. We're going to back up to the beginning and try her again. Okay, let's try it again. Get step number 1. Let me get my cards out of the way here. Oh, there we go. So that it usually does the trick for me. Yeah, I think this might be the Kimberbell. I think the Kimberbell adhesive tearaway. The other one that works really well is the OESD. I think it's called Stable Stick Tearaway. That works very well as well. So with whatever kind of tacky tearaway you like that works for you. And this happened, I just had some pre-cut sheets of this and I thought I'd use them up. So, okay. So then it says we're going to lay down our Peltex with the fabric over it within that line. And I know you probably can't see it too well because I made it white. I should have made it a different color. It doesn't matter. Oh, here it is. And I'm going to lay this very carefully in that line. So we want to make sure we keep everything nice and lined up. So I'm going to put this in here and stick it down really well to the adhesive. Yeah, I have a hard time with, I sew on a lot of just stabilizer, and it does that with all the stabilizer. Like it'll even do it with like, you know, the stabilizer that's, I would say like the no-show mesh and stuff. It just does, it doesn't want to pick up the bobbin thread. So if you just do that, you know, just don't cut it off, and that helps a lot. Okay, so now this is step number 2, is going to be the tack down line for the Peltex and the fabric. So we're going to tack this down also to the paper so it doesn't move. Just nice to have everything kind of tacked down so it doesn't move on us. Okay, so there's our tack down. So now the next step is going to be the quilting, and it's going to do that cute little kind of like hash mark oval shape in the center here. So we're going to sew that out. I'm just leaving white in for all of this because I wanted my quilting to be in white. And then we'll start working on the birthday cake. So it kind of does a circle around it to give you something. We're going to trim this out. So, oh, Mary, you enjoy my TV show? You know, a lot of people watch me on bigger TVs, and I often wonder how big some of this stuff looks on the TV. Because I watch a lot of YouTube on television too, and you know, I have a big TV. That's funny. Okay. So it's going to do my quilting, and it's doing that right. You can kind of see the little hash marks starting to come out. This one takes about 13 minutes to stitch out. I notice I've got a tail here. I don't want to get it sewn in. Let me see if I can get that tail out of there. Sometimes it'll leave a tail when it starts up here. There we go. Okay. Looks like it's doing okay now. Big versus iPad. Oh, yeah, I watch most of my YouTube actually on my television, and then I make comments on my telephone. So I'll sign in on my YouTube app on my phone to the same video, and then I can type my questions and stuff there. Yeah, so it's that, Cindy, that's what you're going to get for Christmas, is a big screen TV for your sewing room. That's awesome. Okay, so there is our quilting then. Okay, so that's what this is right here. So let me show this a little closer for you so you can see it. So you can see my quilting right in here. Okay, so that's what we just did. Okay. Oh, and you do your comments on the iPad. Yep, I don't have an iPad, so I use my. Now we're going to do the birthday cake. So I think I did, the next step is the cake, and I did kind of a yellow cake. And I'm going to put my white up here because I need it again. So here's, I think I did a yellow cake. So we're going to do yellow cake with chocolate frosting. And I think this is cream brown, actually. Yeah, cream brown, the old cream brown from Brother. So it makes it look like a yellow cake. I'm kind of glad you chose the birthday card because today would have been my dad's 98th birthday. When I set this up, I thought, oh my gosh, that would have been Dad's birthday. That's cool. So we're going to make my dad a birthday card. Oh yeah, somebody's favorite cake. My dad's favorite cake was yellow cake with chocolate frosting. So that's usually what he wanted for his birthday. So that's what we're going to make tonight. So. Yeah, I can't believe my dad's been gone for almost 3 years. He had just turned 95. So, so we're doing our yellow cake for him. Yellow cake with chocolate fudge. Yeah. Mylar, you mean Mylar over this? Maybe over the background, but it will. Mylar needs to have a special type of fill over the top of it to keep it from like pulling apart. So this may not be close enough together to do Mylar. So, yep, so chocolate, we're going to have yellow cake with chocolate frosting. So each one of these card patterns has 2 parts, okay? So when Lynn did the class, she did them differently so that everything was like in one part, but you had to do a lot of messing around with taking things out and putting things in and sticking things on, and I thought it was kind of confusing. I found it kind of confusing. So I decided to try it a different way, and this seems to work really well. So you'll have to let me know what you think. No, Mary, my dad passed away a few years ago, so he's not here, but he's having he's going to have a birthday cake in heaven. He loved birthday cake. That's the one thing he even when till the very end, he loved to eat. And so he just enjoyed, he always had to have something sweet at the end of the day. Like that he always had to have dessert. So we had a lot of cake and stuff. That's probably why I gained so much weight when I lived with him. Because he always wanted something for dessert. So we usually had dessert of some sort. Let's see, the next part is the frosting. So that'll be the brown. Get my brown frosting ready here. These are really fun to do. I hope you like these cards. I'd like to make some more in different sizes, just so that they're different, like different shapes and different sizes. But I'm going to try to make them like, I also make cards. So I'm going to try to make them like a standard size for a card so that it's easier to find envelopes and stuff for them. Okay, so we're going to do the frosting. So we're going to put the brown in. I think this is called sandstone. Yeah, sandstone, $2.97. These are all rubber threads I'm using. You can use any colors you want. It'll be fun to watch people and what colors they like. Oh gosh, so your mom and dad's 70th wedding anniversary. That is so awesome. How many well wishes for them on Facebook pages. That's so cool. Yeah, my parents made it to 62 because they were married very young, and they made it to 62. My mom didn't. Mom was only 81 when she passed away, so they only made it to 62 years. All right, so we're putting our frosting on here. And what's next? Let's see. Frosting and then the cake sprinkles and the candles. So that's going to be the blue. Cake base, sprinkles, and candles. That's the blue. We'll get the blue ready here. You're going to do red velvet cake, Carol? That sounds good. Oh, to do more Christmas cards? Would you like more Christmas cards? Yeah, I decided to do like an all occasion set first to see if people liked them. But if I'd probably do more Christmas now, because then we could make them for Christmas. Happy anniversary would be a nice one. Lots of different things. Yeah, Christmas cards would be nice. Because I did happy holidays for this one, and I'd like to do some with Merry Christmas. And carrot cake, yeah, my dad loved carrot cake too. So I could have done carrot cake. But this is usually what he asked for when he asked for a cake for his birthday, was yellow cake with chocolate frosting. All right, so it's going to do a little outline. It always sounds a little funny when it sews because of it's sewing through a lot of heavy stuff. So it always sounds a little funny when it sews. So I think it's partially because of this tacky stabilizer. I've always noticed that the machine just sounds strange when I sew on that. This is a little stiffer too than some of them are. So yes, people appreciate handmade cards. And you know, the handmade cards like these cards are I kind of wanted to roll, you know, do both my fun hobbies together. So that's why I decided to do some embroidered cards, because I'm still going to use some of my card making things that I do to make cards with these, but and use my card making stuff that I have, but I'm going to be able to embroider them too. So I thought maybe people would enjoy having a little bit of both. Yeah, so if you haven't seen the first video, thank you, Rita, for mentioning that. I told everybody how to make the different kinds of card bases. And so I like my cards actually to open on the top. And the reason I like that is, see, like this one opens on the top, and then I can set it down and you can display it sitting up like this, because then it's like a tent, and it'll set up like that. So when people when you give them to people, then they can set them up on their tables and stuff, and they can sit there real nice. So I do that. And then some of them are book folds, you know, like this. But this one here is actually, you know, horizontal. So then it sets up on the end too. So I really like that. So yeah, I showed that in the first video. And I will, and again, I'll link all the videos, because I also made a third video over the weekend. I was busy over the weekend. So I made another video about how I did the insides of the cards. So at the end, I'll show you the insides of my cards. And I made a video showing how I did those. And you don't have to do it the same way. I just gave you some ideas of how to finish the insides of your cards. And of course, you can just leave them blank and just hand write in them. That's fine too. But okay, so this is, yeah, so this is the candles and the cake base and the sprinkles. So this is going to be that light blue. So this is just that old light blue from Brother. I think it's number 017. We're going to make the candles. And then I think we have candle flames. I think I did those with this darker yellow. Go look at my card. I can't remember. Oh, Diane, you made some of the little, let's see. Yeah, I think it was this one. I think I just used Harvest Gold for that. So this is, so far, does this look easy to make cards? And wait till you get to the next part, because it's really cool. Yeah, and so one of the ways that I made my card insides here, while this is stitching, was with, I just pre-printed something. So I did some stamping. So like this one here, let me pull this back while this is sewing. This one here was stamped, okay, with a little stamp, and then I made a stamp at the bottom and I colored it. Okay. This one I made with the scan and cut. I cut out the little piece and everything. And I did the drawing with the scan and cut. I just made that little verse. I typed it in and I cut the little panel out and made it with the scan and cut. So that's one of the ways I showed. This one here is pre-printed. So this was just a printed thing I found. You know, this was actually a card that I got from, they're called The Insiders from Tailored Expressions. Yes, Lori, I'm selling the designs on my website. And I'll put up the link for that in a minute, okay? Then, like this is done, this was from Tailored Expressions and it was pre-printed. So I just cut it out with my die to match the front. And that's just pre-printed. You could just go to your word processor and print something out and cut it out. So that's how I made this one. And then this one was done with a stamp as well. Okay, so I just showed you a few ways to do the insides, simple ways, and whatever works for you. Or you can just hand write in them. Yeah, so we're doing the base of it now. And then I think the next piece is, yeah, the candle flames. And then we're going to do happy birthday. So there's a lot of different ways you can do the insides. And I do very simple insides of the cards very simply, even with ones I make, all the time. And there's just lots of different ways you can make, do that. There's no right or wrong way. All right, so let me go back a little bit closer here. Yeah, I know. Doesn't the cake look good? All right, so we're going to put in, this is the harvest gold. So this is going to be for the candle flames. Do the little candle flames here. Oh, cool. So all the sisters were together making scrubbies today, huh? So yes, Lori, the designs are available on my website. So Lori was asking about that. Let me put that up real quick while I change the thread here. So here's my website, and this is where you can purchase these designs. Okay, so here's my website. Let me just set it up here while I'm changing the color. And this is going to be happy birthday, and I did that in red. We'll just get red. This is just the old 800 red. And then I'll turn the link off for a minute, and then I will put it back up again so people know. And this is also going to be all linked in the description below this video as well. Okay. All right. So here's, whoops, hit it twice. There's our happy birthday. Now we're going to do our lettering. And then we're going to be ready to do the interesting part is putting it on the next piece. It's calorie free. Is that what this is? The cake is making me hungry. I know. I had a little bit of supper, but not very much. I may have to have some more supper. I had a piece of pizza and a little bit of ice cream, so I may have to have something when I'm all done because the cake does look really good. Now there are going to be a few little jump clips in this because they're so small. So I probably won't cut those tonight. I'll do it after class. But there are a few little jump clips between the candles and then a few of the little sprinkles. So, so Cindy's eating ice cream while she's watching. So here's the cake to go with the ice cream, huh? All right. Let's see. So then we're going to get ready to do the second half here. So I've got to find my other colors. See if I can get my thread put back together here so I won't. Sometimes I trip on the thread if I don't roll it back up on the spool. I trip on it because I leave it laying on the table next to me, and then I stand up and I trip over it. So I'm going to roll it up so I won't do that. The colors we've used anyway. All right, let's see. Whoops, here's the other one. There was one more I needed. So for the first half, you just need to use your Peltex with your fabric adhered to it, either with the heat and bond if you don't have the single-sided fusible. I really like the single-sided fusible because it made it a lot easier. It's just one less thing to cut, right? But yeah, I can't believe I forgot to put the fabric on there. You need the Peltex, the heat and bond, if you're using that, and I got it all on there except for the fabric. So I'll fix it and re-upload it. If you've already downloaded your designs, you can download it again and get the fabric onto the instructions. I'm so sorry. Every now and then I just miss something and I don't realize it until I go to teach it. That's usually when I see it, when I'm reading directions to people. Looks like it's doing okay. This is one of my favorite fonts. It's called Boys on Mopeds. I don't know why. I thought it's cute though. It's kind of a novelty kind of font. I always liked it. And then I'm going to show you my little trick. So this this Peltex stuff is kind of hard to trim in the hoop. A lot of people, I mean, have you trim it in the hoop, and it's not impossible, but I've always found it really difficult. And so what I did is I made it in a way that you could just cut it out with a pair of scissors. It makes it so much easier. You're just making basically an applique patch. You use in the second half of the design. And it seems to work pretty well. Oh, may your days be merry and bright. That was such a fun project. It took me a long time to make that one, my quilt. And it had a lot of videos. I did a lot of videos and stuff, and it took me a while to do that one. It was fun. It was a fun project. I really enjoyed it. I'll have to teach it again because I haven't taught it for a while. What size font? I don't know exactly. I think it's about 1/2 inch, maybe. This is a pretty small card. So like the whole front of the card, the whole front of this card is only 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this part here, is pretty small. So none of the lettering is very big. Okay, we're getting about done here. Yeah, I think this might have been about 1/2 inch font. What I usually do is I type it out and then I just make it fit in the space I want it. So I don't normally pay attention to how big it is, I guess. Okay, so I think we're ready. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting, okay? Would it be possible to add more candles using embrilliance? Possibly. I don't know if you can. I mean, I don't know. Possibly. I don't know much about embrilliance. I'm sorry, Barbara. Okay, so now I'm going to take this out. So that's what it says to do. Remove the design from the hoop, trim around the oval close to the stitches to form an applique patch. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take this out of this hoop. Again, I'm using a 5x7 hoop. They all fit in a 5x7 hoop. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim around this outside stitching. Now, just don't cut through it. The reason I used white thread here is I wanted these stitches are going to show slightly through my outline, which is kind of a motif style stitch. So I'm going to show you that. And so I usually like to match my fabric so that that won't show. So otherwise you may see those lines in there. Okay. So I did use white for that. Cindy, I use the Dime software. I use the Dime Perfect Embroidery Pro is what I use. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors. Hopefully you can see me. I'm going to pull this back a little bit. And I'm just going to trim this out. If I can get a hold of it in a second. And just don't trim through the stitches. Trim right up to it, but don't trim through your stitches. And this was so much easier than trying to trim this in the hoop. Because I struggle with this stuff. It's stiff, and it's just hard to get close. And this seemed to work better for me. I tried it both ways, and it's not impossible to trim it in the hoop, but this was so much easier. So I'm just trimming right around that line. Just try not to cut through your stitches. And we made a little patch. That's kind of stiff. Get all the way around here. There we go. Okay. All right. So there is our little patch. Okay. And on the back of this is going to be some little, probably some little jump, some little threads. So I am going to trim a little bit off just to keep, the bulk down. So I'm just going to trim a few of these little threads off a little bit. You don't have to, you won't see them, but I figured then it'll be, and then especially the ones out here next to the edge, if you trim those off a little bit, they won't, like stick out anywhere. So, okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so there's our patch. So now it says that we're going to hoop our tearaway again, our adhesive tearaway, which I did I had 2 hoops, so I just hooped them both, okay? So here's my adhesive tearaway again, and I removed that protective layer. I hooped it with that protective layer up, took my scissors and scored it and pulled it off. Okay. Now, then it says that we are going to do, I'm going to go back to my white thread again, because we're going to start with the white. Because I like to match the card, like the applique again, because we're going to sew on that applique again. So we want to make sure it doesn't show underneath that kind of, okay, there we go. Whoops. Finished embroidering. There we go. Thread my needle again, and then I'm going to get my second design. So that's also important. Okay. Make sure you get rid of this design and we get the second one that goes with it. So the second one is right here. Get this a little bit lower so you can see it. And so here's our happy birthday, and then here's its outline right here. Okay. And I'm going to hit embroidery. All right. So we're going to start out in a similar fashion. Okay. We're going to go over here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch out the card stock applique base placement lines. So I've got my white thread in here. You could put in another thread. Now I have a feeling this will do the same thing as the other one. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my bobbin back in and not cut this off, because I have a feeling it'll want to not catch the bobbin thread. Okay, so we'll do that right away so we don't have to stop. Okay. All right, so then we're going to sew out our, and this can be a different color if you want to use a different color besides white. You can really see it. You may not be able to see it as well on the screen, but I can see it real well when I'm next to it. So I got to find my cardstock here. Just a second. Okay, so the cardstock we're putting down is the smaller. This is the shadow layer. So this is the one that's just a little bit bigger. It's about a 1/16 of an inch bigger all the way around. This is the one we want. And this one is 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, so this is the one we're going to use. This is 100-pound cardstock. So now this one's real important that you pay attention and get it in the right place. And I'm going to stand up so I can see my outline. And you really want this to be nice and straight and lined up, okay? So this one is kind of the one you really want to pay attention to. Now I'm just going to press it down in that little area, okay? Okay, so then the next step is we place the cardstock, and then we're going to do the applique placement line. So now we're going to it's going to sew through the cardstock, and it's going to go around and whoops. Okay, so see, it did the same thing, which is not unusual when you're sewing on paper. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to pull my bobbin thread out and don't cut it off. Every now and then when I'm sewing on very little, and this is paper, it causes that. So we're just going to do this again. We'll back up so we can get back up there. And okay, so we'll do this one again. This should help it. But that really helps. That little trick with the bobbin really helps. And also I'm using pre-wound, so I'm using, whoops, then of course it unthreaded. So we'll try it again. It's just because you guys are watching me. You know that, right? So we'll pull this out again. And then it unthreaded itself. Okay. See, this stuff happens to me too. It's not just you guys. Everybody says, "Oh, that I'm so glad it happens to you too." It does. So we'll get it figured out yet here. So, all right. Thread the needle. I'm using a number 11 embroidery needle. I hardly ever use anything except a number 11. All right, so now let's go back again. Okay, third time's the charm, right?
So hopefully it'll catch it this time. I don't know if it's going to. I think it did. Yep, it did. But remember, you're sewing through paper. Paper is different, you know, sometimes. And like I said, I'll do a few cards and then I change my needle because we're sewing through paper. And it's pretty heavy paper too. Okay, so there's my applique patch, or my applique placement line. I'm going to take my patch now, and I'm going to use my Dritz fabric glue stick. Okay. I'm going to put some glue stick on it. Ooh, boy, my glue stick's messy. I'm going to put some glue stick on the back of this patch so that it will stay put when we put it down on the cardstock. Now, the reason I use fabric glue stick is it can be sewn through. So if you're using other glue, your machine may not like it because it may not sew through it. Okay, so then this is another one of those that we want to be careful. We really get it lined up. So I'm going to take my time and get it well lined up in my line. And it helps to stand up, by the way, because then you can look down on it a little bit better. So I'm standing up and push it down really well. Now it may want to pop up a little bit on the end, but I'll show you how to. I'm just going to hang on to it. And the next step is going to be a tack down line. It's going to tack this down. It's going to be slightly inside the outside line. And it's going to go around and tack this down. And just hold it down until it gets around, and then it'll be fine. Okay. So just tacked it down. And I just hang on to it. It seems to do just fine for me to hang on to. Okay. So that looks pretty good. All right. So now the next step is the applique tack down line. So now we're going to do we did the tack down line, and now we're going to do the decorative stitching around here. And I think this one I did the blue, the darker blue. And that's why I'm doing it all in white, so that none of those stitches are going to really show. Okay. All right, so let's get our blue on here, and then it's going to sew. Those pretty decorative stitches. Okay. All right, so last step of part 2. So it's going to do those decorative stitches. And normally it does okay with this. It'll start because it's got some fabric now to sew on. So it's going to go all the way around and do those pretty decorative stitches. Now, is this making sense to everybody so far? But it's just a kind of a different way of using embroidery. I mean, I have sewn on directly on cards, which is absolutely fine. I don't like the looks of cards if they have stitches on the back. And it's very hard to get like paper to stick and stay over the stitches. So this way you don't have any stitches showing. So I really like that. So we're gonna put this card together in a few minutes, and I'll show you how that works. Making sense to everybody? Oh, great. Isn't it kind of cool? Yeah, and you know, I've been making cards for a few years now, and this is just another way I can make cards. You know, I'm still using the same techniques as I do with regular cards, like cardstock cards, but I added the embroidery, and I think it's really cool. Okay. And then we're going to put it together. I'll show you how to put it together. Yeah, because see, some of the older ones you sewed right on the card stock, which is fine, but it is not easy to sew on cardstock, I don't think. And with this, you don't sew much on the cardstock. You're basically sewing on fabric the whole time. And this part we're doing now is on the cardstock, but you're half on fabric. So it really helps. It's a little noisy. You'll notice it's kind of noisy because I am sewing on cardstock. But Okay, let's see. Make sure I get all my pieces. So we're getting around there. But this is the couple pieces you really. No, they don't fall apart, Carol. I haven't had any problems so far, but see, it's not sewing on the card that much, and it's not a real dense design. So like I would never put a satin stitch around here because it'd be too many stitches. Okay, so this is a more open design to hold it down. And you know and yes, the design is very clear. That's very true, Colleen. Colleen said it's clearer than on felt. And it is because the fabric is, I like the fabric on it because and like I said, you don't have to use white. You can use any color you want. And that's why I thought it was neat to add the fabric, because then you can make things different colors that you might not have, like with just the shape flex or something like hard felt, it's only white. And then there was, no way to make it a different color. Cork might work, Mary, but it's going to be less distinct. I don't think you're going to see the small, if you've got a lot of small details, I'm not sure that you're going to see the small details with cork. I think it might work if it's not too, if it doesn't have too much print on it. Some of the corks have a lot of print on them. That's why I chose fabric instead. But I've had a lot of fun playing with this. I've made some cards. Oh, a bobblehead emoji. That'd be cool. I don't know if Facebook or YouTube does emojis. They may not. Okay, we're getting about there. Almost to the end. But the thing I like most about these is you don't see the stitching anywhere. You don't have to try to cover up the stitching, because the stitching is very difficult to cover up. Okay, so now you do want to be a little careful when you're doing this next part. We're going to take this off out of the hoop. Okay, I'm going to turn this over. Got a few little threads here we're going to trim off. You can see it's nice and neat on the back. So let's trim some of these little threads off of here. Okay, but you do want to be a little careful here when you take this off. So we're going to unstick this, and I'm going to carefully pull the stabilizer away from the stitches. So just be careful and don't just start ripping, because you don't want to pull your stitches through your cardstock. Okay, so I kind of have my finger there, and I'm going to kind of pull it off carefully. And I've done cards a lot of different ways. I've done quite a few felt ones and different things, and I kind of played around with this a little while till I figured out how I wanted to do this. So here's the cardstock. So just be careful when you're pulling this off. This is pretty tacky too. So I noticed I ripped my cardstock a little bit, but I don't think you'll see it on the back. It'll be on the back. So, all right. So let's get, and I try to get as much of the cardstock or the stabilizer off the edges as possible. There we go. Yeah, I think I ripped just a little bit, but it should be fine. I don't think it shows on this side. No, not at all. Okay. And then we're going to trim some of those little, it does stick a little bit, Cheryl, but this is not like overly, like most sticky stabilizers are like pressure sensitive. So if you don't push it down too hard, it won't be stuck too hard. And I do occasionally get a little bit of a rip, like this is just a teeny little rip, but that's why I use the heavy cardstock too, so you shouldn't have any trouble. Okay, so there's our design. So see, here's all the ugly stuff on the back. I just left the stabilizer in the middle. You don't need to take that off. You can just leave it on there. Okay. Okay. So all of the ugly stuff is back here, right? So we don't want that to be showing on our card. So what we're going to do, so this is where the fun begins. I like putting these together. They're very fun. to put together. So this is the coolest little gadget ever. This is the My Sweet Petunia precision glue gun. So it's a precision glue gun, and it uses wet glue. So this is a craft glue. This is wet glue. I'm not going to use tape runners because it won't hold this, because this is pretty big. You know, this is pretty thick now, and it's got all this stitching on the back. Okay, all right. Yeah, you could just cut it around the square. It's nice to get rid of that stabilizer though, around here, because we're going to be gluing, and that's why I wanted the stabilizer off of the paper, because I want to glue right to the paper surface and not to the stabilizer. Okay, so now I'm going to take this is my little shadow layer, and it's going to go on, this is going to go on there, and see, look, then there's no ugly stuff. It's all covered up, see? So we're going to take, and again, I found that wet glue, and this is craft glue. You can't just use plain old Elmer's or something because it just won't dry fast enough. This is Nuvo craft glue. There's a lot of other good glues that you can put in this glue gun. I just love this thing. Okay, so, and where did I get this glue? This glue gun I got online from My Sweet Petunia. Actually, I got mine at Scrap Mania in Cedar Rapids, and they have a website so you can order it from there. And then the Nuvo glue comes with it. So I use the Nuvo glue came with it, but you can just buy Nuvo craft glue. It's very good glue. There's a lot of other ones that are really good too. Like Barely Art glue is really good. There's lots of them, but you just want a good craft glue that's going to dry fast. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue gun, and I'm going to put glue all the way around, and make sure you kind of get towards the outside. And I'm going to put it all the way around my cardstock. And of course, I always try not to get it all over me. Now, I normally don't do this on my sewing machine, but that's where my camera is. So you'll have to forgive me this time, because hopefully I won't get any glue on my sewing machine. Okay. This has a little base you can put it in. And we're going to put this down. And then with it being wet glue, it will give you a little bit of wiggle room to get this done. So let me put this up a little higher here so you can see. And I'm going to line this up on my black little shadow layer, and it'll give me a little wiggle room to get it centered where I want it. I'm just laying it down, and then I'm going to lay it on something flat, and I'm going to press all the way around. Now, see, I got a little glue there, and I can clean it up. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that I press all the way around so that it gets nice and tight along the edges. I tried this with some other stuff, and this is the way that worked best for me, was to use glue. And you could put glue on the middle too if you want to. I didn't put any glue in the middle. I just put it along the edges, because that's what's holding it all together anyway. So you can put glue like on the back of the patch too if you want to. Okay, so we're going to get this all glued down, and this glue dries very quickly, sets very quickly. So, but I just like to keep pressing until I'm pretty sure it's glued down. Got a little piece on the edge of my cardstock here that needs to be rubbed off. Sometimes you'll have some little shards on the side. Okay. And then look, when I turn it over, see, there's no messy stuff. It's all beautiful on the back. Okay. So there's the first layer. So now we're going to put it on the card base. So let me find my card base here just a second. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to glue it on the card base. But I got to find, I think I used red on this one, didn't I? Yeah, red on this one. So I've got a red card base in here. And I made this card base a top fold so that when I give it to somebody, they can stand it up like a tent to look at the card. Okay, so it's going to open this way. Okay, like that. So then what we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just do the same thing. Make sure everything's good and pressed down. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Turn it over. Put my little glue gun here. And we're just going to glue this down. So make sure you kind of get towards the edges, you know, get some glue out there. You don't need a ton of glue, but this is pretty thick, so. And I just like to make sure I get it towards the corners so that it'll stay down on the corners. Okay. Here's my glue. Turn this over, and then we're going to center it on and make sure that the fold is at the top, because God knows that I've tried that and done them upside down. I think we've all done that. If you ever made a card, something's always something's upside down somewhere. Okay, and then I'm going to move this until I get it where I want it, and it's pretty centered. Just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to push this down to the card base. But so far, the wet glue seems to work the best for me. The next best would probably be some sort of a very strong double sticky tape. But I really like the glue, because the glue is going to stay. But you just need to use a good craft glue. Don't try just plain old Elmer's or tacky. Tacky won't work because it's just too thick and it doesn't set fast enough. It needs to be something that sets faster. Okay. So what do you think? Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? You can make a whole bunch of them and have them. And then when you open it up, see, there's no ugly stuff in here. It's all hidden. Isn't that pretty? I just thought this was so fun. I've had so much fun playing with this, and I love making cards anyway. And this one here was the one that I did. I stamped. I have a little stamp that has this cute little saying, "Hope your day is filled with love, laughter, and lots of birthday cake," because I thought that would be a good one for the card. And then I had this cute little balloon stamp, and then I colored those in the video with my alcohol markers. Now that video should be live now. It went live at 8 o'clock my time. So you will now be able to watch me making the insides if you want to. The insides of the cards, okay, and just some ideas of what I do. You don't have to do them this way. You can just leave them plain and white, write in them. That's fine as well. So that is the third video, and it's showing you how to do the insides. Some ideas of how to do the insides. Okay, isn't this fun? And I love to make cards. And so when I make my designs, I have a lot of dies. And I showed everybody what these dies were. They're from Gina K Designs, and they're called master layouts. And what they are is basically layers to make cards. And I want to use some of her master layouts because they are traditional size cards. And I really like that. And then they're easy to find envelopes and stuff for. Okay. So there's the card. What do you think? Isn't that cool? There's nothing ugly on the back. I just love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about talk a little bit about the envelope. So you can buy A2 size envelopes. That's what this card size is. This is just a standard A2 envelope that I bought at, I believe, Hobby Lobby. Okay, and yes, I will have all the products that I'm showing. I don't think I have the glue press on there, but I'll put it on, and then the videos and everything will be listed. Okay. This is just a standard A2 size envelope that I bought at Hobby Lobby, and it will fit in here with no problem. So if you don't want to make envelopes or anything, you can buy an envelope, put it in, and mail it. Okay, it's nice and thin, so it should be okay to mail with a stamp. All right, so that's one way you can make envelopes. The other way I like to make envelopes is I like to actually make the envelope. So give me a second here. I've got my little tool over here that I like. Okay, so here's an envelope that I made. The thing I like about the handmade envelopes, I make these out of a lightweight cardstock, like a 65-pound lightweight cardstock. The reason I like these is they're just ever so slightly larger so that it's easier to get the cards in and out. So see, they fit in here a little easier in and out of this envelope. Okay. Oh yes, it does have a cap. Cindy asked if the glue has a cap. Yes, it does. So this is the coolest thing, because this little stand here has a little rubber stopper at the bottom, so you can leave it open while you're using it, and it covers up the bottom so it doesn't get dry. And then when you're all done with it, after you're done working, it has this cap that has like a little pin in it, and the pin goes inside the tip.
And oops, second here, I'm not quite. I always have trouble getting the tip back on when I don't have my glasses on. And then it goes back in there, and it takes the covers it all up like that. Okay. So there's the tip, and that I leave that on when I'm not using it. Okay. But while you're using it, it sits down on this little rubber thing. I don't know if you can see it very well. It's right down here, and keeps the tip closed so that it doesn't dry your glue out. So this is the coolest little thing. It's the precision glue gun. And I just precision glue, yeah, glue gun, I think is what she calls it. But it's My Sweet Petunia is the name of it. And I love this because if you do a lot of gluing, this is the best thing I've ever had. So, okay. So let's talk about these little handmade envelopes. Is it hot glue? No, it is not hot glue. It is just wet. It's wet glue. It's Nouveau craft glue is what it comes in. It's a little bottle. This thing was made for that glue bottle, that specific glue bottle, and it is not hot glue because hot glue will not work for this. Okay, so I have this little fun toy. It's one of those punch boards from We Are Memory Keepers. It's called the 1, 2, 3 punch board, and it makes envelopes, bows, and boxes. And I love this, and this is how you make your envelopes. Coolest thing, it tells you how big to cut your paper over here, and you cut it a certain size square, and then you just score it. And then I use the glue, and I glue them together. So you score it on all 4 sides, these 2 insides, these pieces. And I think I've done a card. I think I did an envelope for people at one time. So I might have got a video with. I'll have to see if I can find that video. But you do the 2 sides in, and then you pull this up, and then I just put a little glue here and here. Okay, and then this part, it has a cute little a little cutter, so it cuts this little curved area. And then you can put either just a little tape up here when you give it to somebody to keep it shut. But the thing I like about these is they are just a little bit larger, as you can see, so that the envelope, it does go into the envelope a little bit nicer. Okay, it's just a little easier to get it in and out. The other envelopes are a little bit tight, so. Okay, so that's another thing that you might enjoy doing, is making envelopes. And I also make boxes. I like to make the boxes with this too. So this was the 1, 2, 3 punch board from We Are Memory Keepers. I think I got it at Michael's is where I got it. And I'm sure they have them on Amazon and different places. But this was a good little toy. I love this, and this is the punch that punches it on the top, and then it comes with the little scoring tool, which I showed in the first video is a scoring tool. So what size envelope? These are A2, Gail. These are A2 cards. So the first one I showed you is one I just bought at Hobby Lobby. I know I got these at Hobby Lobby. Okay, and I use 65-pound paper to make the envelopes. So it's a lighter weight paper, lighter weight card stock. So it's not as heavy as the rest of the card, but it works real well for envelopes. This is like 65-pound cardstock. And then this is just one of the envelopes I bought, and these work just fine. They're just a little snugger to get in, a little bit harder to get in, but they work just fine. So if you don't want to make card envelopes, you can just buy them, and it works like that. But A2 size for these. Okay, so what do you think? I think you can make some cards. Isn't that pretty cool? I need to do some trimming on this one yet, but this will be the price for tonight, whoever wins this, okay? And let's see. Oh, and I wanted to show you what we're going to do next time. So did you guys see the event that I posted in the group? If you don't do Facebook, you may not have seen it. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a blast from the past. So in 2 weeks, so today's the 3rd, so it'd be 14, it'd be what, the 17th? Does that sound right? September 17th? Have to look at my calendar. I can't remember. Yeah, the 17th. We're going to make, okay, so my friend Judy gave me a pot holder loom that her husband didn't want anymore because she wanted him to make pot holders, and he decided he didn't like it. So we're going to make pot holders. So it's just something for fun. These are cotton loops. And the thing that's so cool now, they have so many cool patterns you can do, and there's free patterns. So in 2 weeks, we're going to make some pot holders. I'm going to show you my pot holder loom. And we're going to I think we're going to do this one. It'll be kind of getting closer to Halloween. So we'll do this little Halloween fall looking one. Okay. So that is going to be
in 2 weeks. It's just fun, silly thing. A blast from the past is what I called it. So if you haven't seen it on the event, I will do a little bit of, I'll write some stuff up and put it on the group too. But that's what we're going to do in a couple weeks. We're going to make some pot holders. Okay. I made a ton of pot holders as a kid. My grandmother bought me a pot holder loom, and that was the only pot holders we had in the house, was the ones we made. So it was pretty cool. So anyway, this is what we're going to do, but they've really evolved a lot, and the products are so much nicer. And I'll have some links about where you can get the products and stuff if you want to try it again, because it's not expensive and it's really lots of fun. So that'll be in 2 weeks. Okay. So we're going to have a blast from the past. Okay, so the card. Let's see who's going to win the card tonight. Oh yeah, your grandsons, Teresa, would love the pot holders. That would be something that they'd probably all like, because they're at a great age. So that would be so cool. Don't you think that'll be fun? Okay, so let me turn the camera back over here, and we'll have our drawing. So what did you think of the cards? Did you like the cards? Find my camera here. Okay. And the loom, yes. So if you have an old loom, just dig out your old loom. My loom was plastic. I remember my grandma got me the loom and the loops from the dime store, from Ben Franklin in Anamosa, the little Ben Franklin store. I know that's where she got them. And my loom was plastic, so I don't think it survived the years. So I got this new one, and it is metal. So the ones that I'm recommending that I have links to and everything are metal looms. So I recommend an 18 peg metal loom, because then I even found the company that my grandma always bought me the loops and stuff from. It's called Wool Novelty Company, and it's the same company. They've been in existence since 1917. So it's the same company. As soon as I saw the bag with the loops, I knew that was the place she got. Those were the ones. So yeah, so the metal looms work better. And so anyway, that'll be 2 weeks from today. But I hope everybody liked the cards. I enjoyed doing these. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'll show you the other ones so you can see them again. So in the set, let me put up my little banner so you can see. This is where you'd go to get them if you want them, okay? This is my website. And you get happy birthday, hello friend. You get happy holidays, okay? And you get thinking of you. So I did kind of like an all occasions set. And I've been really thinking about doing more Christmas, because people have been asking about Christmas cards. So, okay. Yeah, everybody's still talking about the looms. Yeah, I know. Isn't it? I mean, everybody that I've told about them. And the other thing I found a wonderful source for free patterns, because now they have all these beautiful patterns. Like we didn't do all this fancy stuff. We just made them, like pretty colors, and we didn't make all these fancy things. And they have all these beautiful patterns, and the patterns, I found a source. It's one of those open source things that you just tell people, and it's called Piglet, potholders.piglet.org, and they're a permission thing that you can teach with them and stuff, and you can download the patterns, and they're beautiful patterns. So I've been having a lot of fun making all these different patterns and everything. So it's been so fun, because I never did that as a kid, so that was fun. Okay, so let's see who's going to get our card. What do you think? Let's see who's going to win the card. Has everybody been making their comments to win the card? Yeah, that and paint my number. Yep. That was because my grandma, all that kind of stuff stayed at grandma's. That kind of stuff was my grandma's stuff. So we did crafts when I went to see my grandma. So, okay. So the cards you can get, I've got the website up on the screen right now, where you can get the card designs if you want to purchase these. And in 2 weeks we'll do the pot holders. So I thought it'd be just fun to do something different. So, okay. So let's see who's going to win. Let me get my little drawing up here. Let's see who's going to win. Better get a pencil and write it down.
Now you need to send me your, Michelle, is it Cerreta? Cerreta. Did I say that right? Michelle Cerreta. You are the winner. So you need to send me your mailing address to, let me put my my email address up here now. Okay. Let's take this one down and put this one up. So Michelle, I think it's Cerreta. Is that, did I say it right? Hopefully. You will need to send me your mailing address and I will mail you that card. Okay. So at janshieldsewing@gmail.com. Okay. So that is she is the winner. Michelle is the winner tonight. I haven't seen any more comments, but that doesn't mean she's not here. So, okay. So send me your mailing address to janshieldsewing@gmail.com and I will mail you your happy birthday card. So I need to do a little bit of trimming in there yet. So, okay. And then in 2 weeks, we'll get together and we will make some pot holders. So, and I'll be putting some more stuff up on the group and stuff about the pot holders and some more links. But I did put the event up and there's links. Make sure you watch the 3rd video in this series so you can see how I did the insides. Okay, so that should be live now. So you should be able to go watch that so you can see how I did the insides of the cards. Okay. All right. So thanks everybody for joining me tonight. And we'll see you in a couple weeks and we'll have a blast from the past. So thanks everybody. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.